Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Talking with my good buddy, one of the smartest people I know. Love this guy, Joe Roes. Um, call him Joey Joe or Joey Roes. Been friends for a long while. I used to admire him, and then I met him and became friends with him.
Oh, okay. I thought you could go different.
No, I still admire you, but like you were like it was like John McAfee. You know what I mean? He was like not a real person. He was like a figure. And then got to know him. You have done a lot of cool stuff. I've interviewed you. This isn't really an interview. It's just we just wanted to have a time where we could, especially him. He's really busy. I'm not busy. I'm a loser. But so I have time, but he's real busy. So I wanted to set aside some time to have a talk about whatever, but usually about I think what's going on in the world right now because things are so crazy. So welcome. Good to have you here. You don't know, Joe is the architect and founder of dragonchain. One of the best crypto projects that has ever come around, but it's really weird and it's hard for people to grasp because it's an actual like real project with like real business stuff, and it's not just about hype or whatever. They do a lot of business. Me and Lee talk about that all the time. Oh, I was supposed to send him a link and tell him we started because he wanted to. Oh, we're recording it, so that doesn't matter. Okay,
next week we do live, right? Whatever.
Yeah, we could do. I think we're going to try to do this like every 2 weeks at least, just to just kind of hang out, and because
that'd be good.
He has a great perspective on things, and like I said, one of the smartest guys I know. Also, you've done a lot. Like you were around in the beginning of Bitcoin, but you've worked for several 3-letter agencies and evil corporations. Did you work for Boeing?
Nope, I worked for Lockheed.
Okay,
had a contract with a few other like the big. I'm trying to remember like Mantech, and there were a bunch of those types of companies that I've done work for. But yeah.
But now you're dragonchain, and if you don't know this, which you probably don't because it's not publicized that much, but the SEC is really hitting dragonchain hard. I'll put a link below to their legal fund. They hit dragonchain really, really hard. There's also a movie that you can see called Sound Money?
Open source.
Open source money. What's sound money? What's sound money? Yeah. No, there's another movie called Sound Money, but that's open source money. Cool movie. But really, I think out of the gate, the powers that be saw dragonchain and knew, oh, this is something we have to stop. Like XRP, I think they saw, oh, these guys are really going to show some kind of change. You can argue about the chain and everything else, but they are opening people's eyes and people. I remember when they first came out, just talking about how ridiculous it is that it's literally faster to go buy a ticket on a plane and go to that country with the money than it's faster to do that than it is to try to send like a wire transfer.
Yeah.
So they hit them. That one everybody knows about. So what did you want to start off talking about?
Man, I don't even know. We could go abstract. I mean, we don't get a chance usually to talk about like things that are maybe a little more fundamental that are usually overlooked.
I haven't something abstracted.
Do you?
This little tinfoil hat that I've been wearing for like the past few days on this. And this is stupid. It is, but I don't know. When you just get a feeling when something happens, and you're like, something's off.
Yeah.
I remember there was something. There was some explosion that was in like remember Memphis or somewhere.
Hmm.
And it was a gas
Oh,
explosion, and it was just
hmm.
it looked like a missile came in. Remember, it was just
Was
like
it that house? And there was a
it was on a in the middle of the city in
oh,
on the
Nashville? Was it with
yeah.
the AT&T building? I think
There was something that was yeah, it was something. It
that
was something that happened. That's
something's weird
weird.
about that. Something
That's
is that
something
was Nashville, and
weird.
it was
Yeah.
like there was a camper parked there, and it was announcing. It had a countdown, and they have recordings like
Yeah,
from people a block away, and you can hear this, and
even
something is
even
not right
before
about.
all that, just as soon as they're like there was an explosion and they had like CCTV from somewhere down the road, I'm like something's off, and then all that stuff started coming out. So this is there's I'm a big sci-fi buff nerd, if you can't tell by my stuff behind me. But there's a movie that came out in the 70s. It was called Colossus.
Yes, I watched that
I
as a kid.
I knew for some reason you would know. The what is it? The four bin project Colossus the four bin project. And I wanted to watch. I remembered it and wanted to watch it. Couldn't find it. I thought it was odd. And there's a couple of YouTube videos of people talking about that this it's like a really cool, great old sci-fi movie. And then I was just had the feeling, why can't I find this? Like I type it in like on Amazon, it always whatever it is comes up and it'll say not available, whatever.
Yeah.
This nothing it wouldn't come up. And then some other stuff like 2001: A Space Odyssey, all that some other things came up. So it likes we know what you're talking about, but we're
Yeah,
not going to show you anything.
we're not allowed.
And then I thought that's just odd. And just what the movie is about is this this is in the future because this came out like 1970
Mhm.
or 79 maybe it was I think it was earlier but you have to remember when I
1970.
was a little kid Star Wars came out and then
Yeah.
just a bajillion fake Star Wars anything with a spaceship they're like they put gay people and stuff now and put a chicken in and make a day they were just
Mhm.
like put a spaceship in it that's how it was then and then after Conan they're like I love the bad fantasy put a sword in it and show some boobs that was after that but so this I think it was before though I think this is genuine sci-fi and so this guy builds this computer this is before the term AI really no one talked about.
Yes.
This
Right.
was just a computer. Or supercomputer, I believe is what it's called.
Mhm.
This supercomputer that could take all the emotion because of what happened with Kennedy and Cuba, and we have to do something so we don't come that close to destroying humanity. So we made this supercomputer, and it was called what was it called?
Wasn't it Colossus? I think
Maybe it was called Colossus, right? Or no, but I
yeah.
think it was maybe called Colossus or something else. Anyway, so we made the supercomputer, and we're going to turn like our defense over to it, and then the president signs over all the nuclear codes and everything, which that's it was stupid, like kind of like war games, but
Yes,
but everything is this computer,
and well before,
and
right?
then America's like, hey, we're doing this in the supercomputer, it's going to keep us safe and blah blah blah, and then Russia comes right out and says, hey, we did that too and we have a supercomputer. It's called the Guardian. I remember that.
Yes.
So the Colossus asks the head guy, the the the, the guy who created. Can I connect to the Guardian and speak with the Guardian? And the dude freaks out because he's like, "You're not allowed. You can't ask that. You're not supposed to be able to ask a question." So something so it had like kind of evolved. So what it did is it connected with the Guardian, and this supercomputer talked to this supercomputer, and they're like, "Hey, we have all the nuclear weapons and everything. We can rule the world, and that's what they did.
Yep.
So it's kind of like the opposite of Terminator 2 Judgment Day,
Yeah.
which I thought about it, and really that doesn't make sense. That it would have done that for Judgment Day because there would have been an EMP which would have destroyed it and everything else, so it would have been much more careful. But nowadays, I can't. And then I was wondering, like, this is weird that I can't find this anywhere. And then I saw a video on YouTube, and it was like conspiracy about this. So I was like, yeah. And then this guy said the same thing I did. He's like, he wanted to watch it, and then he typed it in, and it was like on Tube. It was on some off, like all the streaming services that it was on before. They pulled it, and it was only on these two other ones. And then he said he went back a few weeks later, and it was pulled off of those. And then you couldn't even rent it. You couldn't rent it. Nothing. It was nowhere. And then he's like, it was, the rights were bought by Universal. It was a successful, financially and critically acclaimed at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, why is this being pulled? Why is it disappearing? And this was all like a year or so ago when, AI was a little bit bigger. And just, it was all the hype. And then he said there's only two things. One was the only one that is not little like super bad conspiracy and scary is that they're thinking about making a reboot for it. And they don't want it around, but which is stupid because you want people to watch the old one.
Yeah.
And then all the other ones are, they don't want people to.
That's not really, possible, I guess, but that's kind of a silly.
So what do you think about that? It's
you remember a spoiler at the very end, and what was most, it's like, okay, cool movie, but it was very political for when I was a kid. So I was like, oh, okay. And I remember the one thing I remember about it is the very end of it when it comes online and it tells people, I can't remember, but it's making some announcement, say this is world control, and it's like, oh, that's cool, right? Because it was like I didn't, as a kid, I was watching it, and but that's why I remember it because of that, right? It was like, okay, that was a pretty cool story. But yeah, and I had even would have been a couple of years ago. I was telling either one of my kids about it or something, and I couldn't find it anywhere, right? So
yeah. It's literally been like entertainment wise scrubbed from existence. It's very.
And I will say, it was probably good that I couldn't find it because I would probably have watched it and like, oh man, this is not as good. Like kind of when you try to watch Land of the Lost or something, remembering how scary the sleaze were.
Oh yeah, well,
yeah. So
they were
those were scary back
then. Now you see, that's weird. You start talking about the Land of the Lost. The lizard people were running things. The pylons. What are they? The pyramid things. I mean, there's so much like it's like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing. When because Lisa brought it up or something, and I was like, yeah, wait a minute, the lizard people, and then this and that. I was like, that's weird. And then
that was going on in that set. I was like, those people were all drugged up and programmed.
The thing that scared me the most about that was the light guy. It was in the dark, and the dude was made of lights.
I don't remember that.
Oh, it's horrifying. That did scare the crap out of me. Yeah, did you watch the Will Ferrell one?
No, I have not.
It is very Will Ferrell, very funny.
Okay. I used to like him. I can't be entertained by him anymore for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Anchorman?
What's that?
Anchorman?
No, I never saw it. Right. I just know something about him. I think it was I really thought he was funny for a moment, and then I realized maybe he's not that funny. I don't know. I think it's something weird.
That's how I am with Adam Sandler a bit.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's like he's because now it's like it doesn't matter what. It's like Pacino or De Niro, like they'll take anything. You know what I mean? There's like they don't say no anymore to whatever was
Oh,
offered.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. They're
before
just getting their
yeah.
money out before. Yeah.
And together, Adam Sandler and De Niro made just the terrible movie.
What? Really?
Yeah. Well, Adam Sandler played himself and his sister, or his aunt or something, and then it was a sister. Yeah. Okay. Played his sister, but who did Al Pacino like?
Al Pacino played Al Pacino.
Yeah.
And he was dating the girl version of Adam Sandler.
So he was dating the girl version of Adam Sandler's sister, who was Adam Sandler.
That's some humiliation ritual, probably.
It was maybe. I mean, it was so terrible.
I will say one thing. I can, like say, Dune. I was like, I watched this. This is great, and the production quality is amazing. And there's some things that I'm like, I wish they would have done this a little bit different, or whatever. But it's still awesome. I'll watch it, right? I'm amazed. Like you try to scroll through, and it's like, okay, I'm bored. It's a Friday night. It's like, okay, family, let's watch something, whatever. My gosh, it's freaking nothing to what it is. Just nothing. It is all such crap. How are these things funded? There's just so many horrible movies.
Have you seen The Creator?
No.
You would. I mean, definitely for you because it's about AI and all that. It's I. Did you see Rebel Moon?
No.
Terrible movie. At least in 2 parts, right? It's just the cast amazing. What's his name? It basically was supposed to be like a new Star Wars that Zack Snyder made, and
really?
it was just terrible. It was terrible, but because the worst thing was that you could see potential. Like there's like this cool character who he was a general that was ordered to do something like terrible, and he wouldn't do it, and him because it would have killed like his men and civilians and stuff. Cool. So he like wouldn't do it, and then he was kicked out of the emperor kicked him out and blah blah blah, and then but they don't ever talk about the story. They're just like, hey, we need to find this guy. Oh, that guy that did all this and this, yeah. And then they find him, and they're like, hey, the whole premise is that they want to save this village, not the universe, just this village where the bad guy went, and he's like, hey, I want a bunch of your wheat. They're like, oh man, we don't have any extra wheat, and he's like, I found out you have wheat, and now I'm going to kill everybody. And it's a 2-part movie. It's like 2.5 hours and 2.5 hours. And in that amount of time, they tell no story. There's nothing you care about. It's just so bad. Oh, so the reason why I had such high expectations and I was let down so bad. And then The Creator, complete opposite. I was like, I thought it was just going to be,
that's usually a way to, it's usually a good thing if you go in not expecting anything.
Yeah, I was expecting more, just special effects and whatever, but it was kind of a cool idea. And cool. I found out the way it was, like they filmed it for $70 million, which is not a lot by today's standards, but they did like a kind of guerrilla filming. Like they would go down to the beach, and there's like people at a tiki bar or whatever, and they're like, just ignore them. We'll film around them like they're extras, and it. So like, awesome. It was cool, man. It was cool, and then but the story is it's like past AI, becoming kind of sentient, and then this one is like this kid. If like the U.S. military hears that there's like this ultra super mega weapon, and they go in to try to see what the mega weapon is. It's like in a silo, and it's just the little kids sitting there watching cartoons. But it's just like AI that could, they could control like all.
I think I saw the trailer for this. Okay.
Yeah, but it was written well. It was cool. Made you think a little bit, like good
That's good.
sci-fi does.
That's good.
Yeah, you should check it out.
Okay.
Trying to think of anything else. Like Dune, I thought Dune was okay. You know,
Yeah, it could have been better, but it was. I mean, the second one was better than the first one. So.
I liked the second one, but I like the original. You know, Frank Herbert, the whatever.
Book.
No, I'm not a reader. The one that I forget his name, but I think it's French. The one from the 80s.
The with the blue eyes people. The
Sean Young was in it. Always had a crush on her.
what's his name? Yeah.
Dude, really? You're trying to think of who Paul Atreides was?
No. The who was that original director? Like, are you talking about the Lynch one?
Lynch, David. Yeah, Lynch.
You like that one? I don't know. I didn't like it. That one was it was weird.
You read the book, yeah.
And it was, and there's one I saw some special on some dude that wanted to make a film,
Yes.
never got a budget, but he had all this amazing art for it.
Yeah, I watched that. I bought that. Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That was really cool.
His ideas would have been nuts.
Yeah.
But I guess that's like Peter Jackson getting Lord of the Rings. You know, no one thought you could ever really put that.
Yeah.
On film.
I bet we've been. I would say my youngest daughter and I have been watching that repeated. The extended. I had never watched the extended. My older daughter told me, it's like, hey, you should watch the extended, and it's much better. And so we've been watching that.
The second one, the extended, way better. They go kill what's his name.
Yeah.
They completely cut that out, man. That was satisfying.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. All the Lord of the Rings. My kids will watch that. Actually, my kids watch The Hobbit, the cartoon one, like almost every night. Like they go to bed to it. They go, they put it on. Frodo of the night.
Really? I can't. I've only watched that once, and I just can't watch it again. It's I don't know.
I went to the theater, and with my mom, saw that, and the Lord of the Rings one, which had that weird animation, which it was like they film people and then like puts kind of overlay over it. Mm-hmm. So the orcs were really frightening. They were horrifically scary. I think I was like 5 or 4. So they made an impression, man. I guess it's weird. I thought we were going to talk about massive conspiracy that we're talking about.
Oh, we should. I don't know. I mean, I've been told by people in Hollywood that anything that you hear from Hollywood, as long as the crazy stuff is all true. The stuff that is like, no way, that's true. It's definitely true. I've been told that repeatedly by people. So all the stuff is true.
I think it's weird that Harvey Weinstein got turned around, and he's like, being acquitted. I think
that work?
I think they kind of thought like we can get rid because he was a big deal. I think they thought we can do that and it'll appease things and it'll look good. But he was so well connected that I don't think they realized how much it would hurt everyone's he's connected to. Because there's a new Star Wars show. I think it might be Acolyte or something, but his personal assistant is the showrunner for it, and that's all people talked about. Harvey Weinstein. This was made by Harvey Weinstein's personal assistant. She knew everything. She did it. She's just as bad as him. And the backlash was so huge. And it was like the month after everyone freaked out about that. And then that brought up, look at, all the people that were connected with him, Oprah and everyone else. And there's actually pictures of Oprah with like P. Diddy, Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. She's in the middle of all that.
Every single person.
John of God and the whole thing.
Yeah,
her African orphanage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
But
some of that stuff. There's some stuff with the Weinstein stuff that I wouldn't even be comfortable talking about. There's just some weird stuff that I've seen.
Like what?
That. I don't think it'd be a good thing to talk about. It's too dark and whatever, you know. I mean, I'm okay with talking about dark stuff, but some of that's too much like, oh, I don't know, creepy and dark. So
Well, they're creepy and dark people.
yeah,
I think one thing that's very weird when it comes to that is that the music industry, it's like not even hidden anymore.
yeah,
You know, it's like in older people, or people from like the early 2000s, 90s, like they're coming out and say, hey, yeah, we had we prayed to Satan that the album would sell this many copies, and
really,
it was, yeah,
wow,
it was it was, they're like, yeah, I mean, we just thought they were weirdos, but they're paying the bills, so but they're like, yeah. And then things like you said really like made me, like, I never thought of that way, because you always think of child sacrifice. There has to be, and all the movies and the thing, there's the want to sacrifice a baby.
mm-hmm.
And then when you talk about abortions and what that is, and if you look at it that way, it's a huge blood sacrifice, or wars, or other things.
Yeah,
That if you have someone who's in control and can do that and start that, if the reason behind it is for whatever goal,
yeah,
then
yeah,
it could be
yeah.
looked at.
And that's the thing, like, say, on that, because that's kind of this new realization that I have that it's like, and maybe it's a projection of what, some of the stuff that I'm realizing as I get older that, you could ask anybody who might say, MK Ultra, that's not real, or the war is not that, or 9/11 wasn't that. But if you think about it, you're like, okay, any normal person, do you think that there are people in the world who, whether or not it's real, that
Mhm.
I'm a scientist, right? Is that stuff that is not measurable real? I don't know, right? And as a scientist, I would even say, I'm not saying it's not real. I'm saying I can't measure it. So it's like a different thing. So, do you think people sacrifice animals to Satan or to some deity or something? It's like, yeah,
Mhm.
people have. We know that people have. Do you think they might sacrifice other humans or babies to? It's like, I'm sure they have, right? So how much of a stretch is it to think, okay, if these people who likely would come into any level of power, would they do that with your nephew, send him off to war? It's like that they can count that as a blood sacrifice.
Yeah.
I guarantee they would. And you think 9/11, that was just, oh yeah, that was just some terrorists in a cave that hated our freedom. It's like, or was this something else? And the more I look at it, the more I think it's like the
Well,
only, anyway, it's much simpler to think these people are doing all this stuff on purpose, and it's just crazy.
it was
So
really odd because after you had said the thing about the abortions and blood sacrifice, the Church of Satan opened, like, I think 2 clinics, but they also like partnered with other clinics or Planned Parenthoods in the country, and said that they would pay for it. Like, they would send the money and pay your medical bill for it if you just incorporated some religious um, rituals into it.
mhm.
So I mean, how is that? That's like so blatant, in your face.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's creepy, and again, it's weird because when I came into the blockchain world, I was, I had grown up a Catholic. I knew all this stuff, but I was, not practicing, not, I'm trying to do, best I can for the kids and stuff like that. But that's just made me look at a lot of things to and mostly because they attacked us. If they wouldn't have attacked us, I would have just on my merry way,
mm,
being a good person, but not overly thinking about any of this stuff. But just trying to figure out, what in the world did I do, has led me to down a lot of uh, rabbit holes. And that's one of them that I really, kind of realized is like, oh my gosh, it's like is the how do I say this? Um, I mean, evil people control the world. That's
Yeah.
in the end how it works, and I guess that's I don't know if that's always been that way or not, but anyway,
I don't
whatever.
know. I don't know. I think, and I think that's one of the things that America, the United States, was so radically different, and we don't understand that now. But for those ideas and to go outside of that old ancient power structure, and it's just like, we're doing it, and literally we did huge, expensive, costly with lives, and and just because it was right, just because it was the right thing to do. Like one of the first things we did as a country is we destroyed the the Islamic Muslim pirates.
Ah,
And they ruled the world for what, like 200 years, and they Spain paid them off. England, or the British Empire, paid them off. Um, and they started hitting our merchant ships. We didn't have a navy. We didn't have anything. We were a brand new country, and they hit our ships. And then they said, here's how it works. You give us, I think they wanted like $200,000, and they would, and England and all the other empires. They're like, look, if we go to war with them, it's going to cost us like $5 million, or we could just pay them $250,000 and tax these people a little bit heavier. So that they just did it, like that. And we were like, oh no, well, that's wrong. You know what I mean? That's wrong. So we created the Navy, and we went and we destroyed them. And there's a really cool story on that. How it happened, and like it was actually the first covert ops that ever happened. It just insane stuff happened. But we bombed the crap out of the capital. Went to Tripoli, um, and I think it's Morocco, or Tripoli is the first and oldest treaty that the United States has.
really?
Because that's what we went, and we sank their navy or their pirate ships, and then we bombed the crap out of their city from the water, with our navy. And we said, you're not going to attack our ships anymore. And we made them pay back Spain, Britain, all those other countries, and they said that okay, we're not going to attack their ships either, or nothing. We're done. And we didn't ask for anything from all those other countries. We're just like, that was right thing to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it really we should have taken a tax on that money. We should say, okay, we're going to give you some of this back, but we're going to recover our costs. And
that's but that was so.
But see, that's the problem, I think, because here's my question. And you say we did what's right. We did occasionally, I'm sure, and we at least did what's interesting, because what's different. That's almost like a Roman thing. Everybody else is paying them off, and it's like, no, we don't do that. We kill you, right? Something like that's nice. But the problem that I see is potentially, and because we see it now, that our government is made up of foreigners, aliens, and people that don't represent us, right? And so you can look at any action now, and you can almost always see it now. Now it's blatant. Back then, maybe it wasn't so blatant. Do you wonder if maybe let's say the Brits? I'll just say the Brits. Maybe it was the Spaniards. I don't know. But what if the Brits, knowing that we have a democracy, and say, hey, you have some campaign costs, right? I'll give you this amount. I need you to and maybe it would have been the president at this point. I don't remember. I remember some of it. I don't remember entire. But either way, manipulation of a democracy is so radically simple. That is why the propaganda pushes towards we have to have democracies everywhere, because they're easy to manipulate, and they're easy to hide money and to basically steal from the people. And right now, because we have a democracy, our government doesn't actually represent us. It actually represents everybody else. And it's because you look at the border. You're down there in the South, and you think about how many people are coming over the border, and what that might mean in 10 years and 20 years. And then you see that the very same people who won't do anything will spend 20 times that to build a wall in Israel, or to give tanks to the Ukraine, right? They would never lift a hand to do anything for our border, right? Why is that?
I got something here. Where is it?
Because they're owned.
With the 165 billion we gave to Ukraine, we could have built 6 border walls to stop illegal immigrants from pouring across our southern border. Could have fixed Flint's water system 215 times over.
Easily.
I like this one. Could have given every homeless vet $2 million.
Holy shit.
Could have given $50 million to every family impacted by the Maui wildfires.
They got $700 each. They think it would take $20 billion to end homelessness in America. $20 billion. We've sent 100 and how much?
165 billion.
So we could have ended homelessness 8 times over in America. It's outrageous.
Yeah, and that's what we know. They've spent a lot more than that. I guarantee to you.
Yeah, and I think and I told you I wish if I could go back to being a kid, I would have studied philosophy. I would have studied the shit out of philosophy, because you can tell that nothing changes. It's the same story, whether it's Socrates or whoever's talking about it, way back when, or someone from the 1700s, or you look at Voltaire, or it's all the same thing. Lazy people who, if you don't care about politics, or what is it, if you don't care, you deserve to be ruled by evil men. That.
Oh yeah.
It's the same thing, and you really see how it's just the same old, and that's how we got here. If people were more involved, then they would have known what there's been certain nexus moments, like when Obama put that thing through where you're allowed to show propaganda to U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
That was it. That's why there is no news. Remember, the news used to be, this happened today.
Yeah.
And every channel now, it's like, this is what I think about what happened today. It's completely different. And we're at least one generation that's all they know of news.
And it's a funny thing, because people will give lip service to the truth, or even to freedom of speech, right? Elon Musk will go on and on about freedom of speech on X, but then he won't lift a finger when a small account gets banned because they said something that is verboten. It's an odd thing, but isn't it odd that when you get freedom of speech, a lot of topics come up that might be uncomfortable, but if they're true, we should be able to talk about them, right? So it's it's just a really crazy thing. And we are, by the way, I mean, that's one of the things that is probably going to be the most interesting and distinguishing component of this, that everything remains the same, but the one odd thing that we have here is we're like a very large Switzerland in terms of being armed to the teeth, and it's the one element that is different.
Yeah.
about that is really different about this country, and it's cultural and everything else. And I'm in the Midwest. You're in the Middle South, and there are, and it's all over though. I mean, even Pacific Northwest, there were a lot of gun nuts, right? And I'd say it's like they were hunters and or people who are interested in self-defense, and or people who want them because they know that the government can be tyrannical, right? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna have these because I can, and I'm gonna say these things because I can.
Mhm.
And they don't, they've gotten rid of the Fourth Amendment. I mean, effectively,
Yeah, the things there's so much erosion.
yeah,
It's just, and I'm starting to be an old guy, but when I was like 35, I could see like, geez, this is a lot different than when I was 5 or 8. You know what I mean? And one of the weird things now is that you watch any YouTube video, or I mean, in like reality, but you can also watch just you know entertainment. You know, and not to make it ridiculous and talk about like Mayberry, but most like when I was a kid, friends of mine, their police were or their police, their parents were police. Um, it was like not uncommon for someone to retire and say, "I've never had to pull my gun."
yeah, right,
It was super common. It was like because you didn't pull your gun unless you were going to kill the person.
yep,
And now that's like the first thing. It's like, let me see your license. It's like, oh, it's just
Hmm.
it's like it was like the militarization of the police is went up so much, and
Mhm.
the rights of regular citizens have went down so much.
Yep, and it's bad. I mean, I used to, just assume that the cop was in the right, but I don't anymore. I've seen too many
Yeah.
videos where it's obvious they're being too aggressive.
Mhm.
I didn't know this. Most people don't know this. When you see, like, gosh, what was it? There was one in New York where they were basically beating these people. And you ask, where were these guys trained? Why would they be doing that? It's like, oh, they're all trained in Israel, and so they're all trained in for this military purpose.
Mhm.
They have freaking all this equipment that is essentially designed for military purposes, and I don't know, it's all ridiculous. And I think, by the way, so crypto industry as well as national governance. Well, I guess any type of governance of government stuff. I think the thing that's missing that used to be there and it's been purposely programmed out is and it's more than one thing, of course, but there's a lot of cultural pieces that I think are super important. And when you get a very diverse populace, it's impolite to say, well, here's what we believe, because maybe those people don't believe this, and those people don't believe this, right? It
Mhm.
becomes harder. Whereas if you're all, if we were all, uh, you know, English people in the 1700s, or if we were all German people in the 500s AD, we would have a common culture. We would believe in the same things. We would all kind of. It's almost like and some of your neighbors might be better at being good people with our rules than others, right? And you would
Mhm.
definitely have differences, but you at least all had that same understanding. And the problem, and this happens in crypto too, by the way, the problem is uh, when you get into one of these modern cultures, and I think it's almost obviously by design that they don't teach those values in school. They don't teach any of the fundamental things that you really do need uh, to keep your entire system running well. And if you don't have that culture, it's extremely easy to co-opt it and to direct it over here, to steal from it and everything else. That there is no fundamental belief system that we are. And here's the thing: we could have, if it would have been intentional, but it was, in America, it was, so, it was intentionally Christian. Everybody was Christian. They were German or English or, from one of a few countries.
Yeah.
And
But those countries aren't those countries anymore, I've noticed.
well, I know, but they did the same thing over there that they did here, and actively so. But you could have a non-religious version of the same. Like say, you could have it where we all believe in the republic. We believe in this, and if you're a traitor, I'm going to string you up, right?
So I mean, and you can argue about the pledge. It was actually made by I think the communist or socialist that came up with it, but it was everything's God, and there's certain fundamental things that I think like everybody knows, and I've learned that it's not true. Everyone doesn't know certain things. Like I can understand people know, hey, if you drink too much liquor, you get alcohol poisoning. I think everyone should know. I think everyone knows that. That's not something I think you need to explain to people. But most people, some people don't know. You could die from drinking too much water. That's something I think I would tell someone. So,
Yes.
but there's certain things like that I thought everyone would knew, but everyone don't. Like it was Lisa, where she was talking about something, and I just mentioned that Christians, Jews, and Muslims all worship the same God. And she was like, no, they don't. I'm like, yeah. She was like, what? I said, yeah, you didn't know that? I said, I thought everyone knew that. She's like, no, then why are they just argue over the prophet? One is Jesus prophet, the other one's Muhammad. And, the Jews believe they haven't come back yet. So it's same, it's all one God. And the basic rules, like Ten Commandment kind of thing, that's kind of across the board.
Can I ask you something there though? Because like say there are people in 4chan who will tell you that's not true, right? And I'm not a religious scholar. I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure one way or another. But there are several things, and man, I have to think for a second here if I want to get into this. But okay, so for one, let's assume those three are the same God, and they call it God. And let's say, you might call it Allah, you might call it Jehovah, whatever, or you call God. What about Jupiter? What about Zeus? Was Jupiter also Zeus? Yes or no? Is Zeus and Jupiter, is that the same God? I don't know.
Are you talking about Roman stuff? Like Roman and Greek?
Yeah, in Greek, right. Yeah. Is that the same God? I mean, because if you read, you read Seneca, or I've been reading a bunch of ancient stuff recently, and they in the translations it says God, and so I was like, it's almost like, wait a minute, did the original text say Jupiter or Zeus, right? I mean, I want to know, and is it the same thing?
You start talking about that, that's a whole other can of worms, because there was that Caesar who was he was a Christian, but he married a pagan woman, and he basically he ordered the empire to get every Bible written, and destroy it, and then print up one new version. And he combined the two religions. That's why we celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December, which is actually the birth of Ra. That's Ra's birthday.
Well, but they did it because it was the wine god
Bacchus.
But that's the Greek one, I think. I can't remember. Maybe it's the Roman one. I can't remember. Either way, that's his.
Like, the halo.
Yeah,
that's the symbol for Ra.
Oh, really?
The Easter.
Well, let me ask you then too about, so even of the three Abrahamic religions, what the hell is it with the black box? I still don't understand that to this day, and I had no idea the cultural significance there is with that was never taught. It was like, to me as a kid, I went to university, and it was a Catholic university even, and I didn't even know this, right? That's a Saturn thing. And it's like, why are they, because, and Saturn is an ancient god. He's, he was
Mhm.
the one who
But
ate the
part of the pagan,
children.
yeah.
Yeah. And then what else? Gosh, it came up in one of the
The whole
WikiLeaks
Easter thing,
emails.
that freaks
I
people
mean,
out.
it's like and there's even a painting, which is one of the more interesting things about the black box, that I was like, what? That it forms a cross when you unfold it. It's 6 sides. It's, it's just a weird, great. And there's a painting, I can't by, maybe, was it Dolly? I can't remember. That shows that. I'm like, what? And I didn't know this. I had no idea. And so, I'm looking at this stuff, and I was like, why aren't they teaching, at least so you understand what is meant by certain these things that come
I
up?
remember because I was born Catholic, and then my mom wanted to needed to get a divorce and needed to get a divorce when I was like 3, but the church said no. So
Oh yeah, you said
my
that.
mom said we're Methodists now. Yeah,
You should at least become an Anglican, because that would make better sense, because that's why it exists, right?
but
They should have made that the church for the people who, the Pope won't give them an annulment or something.
but like my family's Catholic. Like when I would stay with my aunt or my grandpa and we go to mass, I was Catholic. It's all one God. You know what I mean? So I didn't.
Yeah.
All I knew was like we don't drink now that we're Methodists or something. It was not a big deal. But then when we moved to the South, then there's Baptists, and we're full gospel. That's what the church we went to. And when you say anything about Catholic, everyone's like, "Ooh, that's like Satanism." I'm like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. And then when they tell you the stuff, it's like, it says in the Bible, like, because full gospel, it's very simple. Just whatever it says in the Bible is what we believe. Like, so they're like, oh, so you can hold snakes? And like, yeah, you can hold snakes and not get poisoned, but it also tells you not to tempt God, so you shouldn't do that. So, that kind of thing. So, this guy's telling me all this stuff, like you can only get, your sins forgiven by God. You can only go through that, with Jesus, blah, blah. And then he's like, Catholics believe if you go to a priest and the priest absolves you of your sins. Like, no, they don't. I didn't know. I never went to confession. You know what I mean? As a young, little kid. So like, yeah. And then I like the priest says, you're forgiven for your sins. Go do this. Go mow my lawn, and then you're forgiven. It's like, do 10 Hail Marys or whatever. But you get a task, and then I'm like, that goes against everything in the Bible. Why does everyone accept that? And then he's, this, and what was I, like 13 when the youth pastor was telling me, and then he starts telling me about like the upper echelons and the satanic stuff, and I was like, yeah, you're freaking me out pretty bad, dear guy. And I just wanted to come into the lock-in and maybe talk to a girl. Did not want to have my, I did not want to know about all this.
Man.
But yeah, it was pretty trippy.
How do you solve this? How do you solve it then?
What?
There's those problems.
Yeah, even as a kid, that was the one big thing, was that a priest actually tells you you're forgiven for, and nowhere can you validate that in any Christian religion.
Yeah, it'd in fact be like the people in the temple that he overturned their tables, right? That's what they were doing. They were like, they were taking money for it, but
well, and see that people always misconstrue that too. Do you know why he did that?
I don't know precisely. Right. Yeah.
Okay, so here's it was, and this is the thing. People say, Jesus never got mad at anyone except for these certain times, and it was about money. It wasn't about money, because the temple was made in like these certain sections, and you were not allowed in like to the like middle part. Only like the high priest should go there, and then like other priests could go to this part. some people could go here, some people go here, but the Gentiles, they could only go into this outside area. And so that was where the losers could go into this, only in this outside area. And that's where all the priests would be like, hey, you can sell your stuff and do your stuff, but it goes do it out here in this courtyard. And basically they had taken all the room up so people couldn't come. The regular, Gentiles and the losers and sinners couldn't come into that area. So that's what he was mad about. He was mad at the priests because he's like, you won't let these people in because of these money changers and also if you read the story on the way there, it's is kind of a freaky thing. It was hungry. There was this tree. What was it? It was I think a fig tree, but is it figs or whatever the nut is? They're by they give fruit every other year, but they give buds. They have these little buds one year, and the next year they give fruit. And this tree didn't have anything, and it says, and you have to really read into it to know this, but he goes to this fig tree and it has nothing, but that means it didn't have buds or it didn't have figs. He's like, this tree is worthless, and it shouldn't. It's anyway, it's really cool. So, but then when they're coming back after they left, they passed a tree and it was totally dead. He killed it. He's like said, this is worthless. It's good for nothing. It's got to go. It won't feed my people. It said something. I mean, it's a parable, but it's something that most people don't get. And then when they came back through, this tree was just black, dead. I don't know why, but I always thought that was a really interesting story. I gotta remember what all the cool stuff was.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they should get rid of the Old Testament. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and that's another thing.
I think the New Testament.
Where people say, "Oh, you're a Christian? You believe in stoning women for this?" I'm like, no. When you say it's the Old Testament, yeah, the New Testament needs to change, but then you use that argument with other religions. Let's not point it out which one. That's like he has sex with a 3-year-old, and it's not like it's not wrong. What is the one?
As long as it's 3 years and a day old, they can, and as long as it's not the same religion.
No, but there's one religion in this. If they're under 3, then their virginity grows back.
Yes, yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry, yeah, yeah.
And people are like, "Oh, well, we don't do that now." It's like, but it says it, and then the whole thing with the Islam, and I don't know. So,
isn't it funny? You can mention. Anyway, I'm not gonna say it. Why don't we just should have an entire show where we do nothing but talk about how horrible the Buddhists are. I'm joking. It'd be the shortest show ever, probably.
Yeah.
But and no one would be. We wouldn't get canceled.
I don't know if I told you, my kids go to Asia like a lot. At least every other year, but for like a long time, for like 2 months. And the first time that my son Ted went, he he's like 6'2". He looks like me a lot, and has kind of blondish hair. But he it was so weird because he's like everybody. It was like in a movie, everyone's like wanted to touch his hair, and
Yeah,
like 3 people offered them as daughters, and like said that they had this many cows and whatever. He was like they just met him. It was really weird. But they went on this hike. It's more than a hike. They went down a river with kayaks into the jungle, into China or Laos, or somewhere. Anyway, they go in deep into the jungle, and then they go up and climb this mountain to this giant monastery, ancient monastery. And Ted is tired because he's a big dude, and he was walking around the corner, and these two monks were walking, and they bumped into him, and they looked, and they just dropped to their knees, and he was like, what's going on? And then these other monks came out, and they freaked out, and they dropped, and they thought he was Buddha, and that they were seeing things. And then when he touched them, they were like, you're a real person. And then like a translator came over, and they're like, we thought that you were Buddha, and
Wow.
you come here.
That's awesome.
It gets much awesomer,
Okay.
much awesomer. So they take him back. He's like talking to the monks, and they're and they offer him a drink of this water, and he's like, oh, thank you. Drinks it. It was hot and everything, but it tasted a little off. It made him super sick. It was terrible. Like they were afterwards. The people were like, you drank the water from the mountain up there, and they're like, oh my god, no. He's like, the monks offered it to me. He's like, no, those people are used to drinking that. No, but anyway, so these monks are talking to him. They're like, hey, we want to show you something. So they take him into the temple, and they're like, no one's allowed to go here, except not even a lot of monks aren't allowed to come into this deeper part. They take him down, and then they go down to this deep dungeon thing. They open this room, and it's one of the biggest. He said it was one of the biggest rooms he's ever seen, Indiana Jones type movie, And there were scrolls, manuscripts, weapons, armor.
Wow.
Thousands of years old. It was in pristine, because it was like as soon as it was made, it was brand new. It's been kept there for 3,000 years. He said that he saw bows and all this ancient Asian armor and all this stuff that has been. And he said this stuff has survived world wars. That they didn't know about it because it's in this secret temple in the middle of the jungle. And he said it was so many floors down, into the deep. It was really, really cool. Amy can't take pictures. He wasn't supposed to. Probably not supposed to talk about it.
Wow.
But it was.
Isn't it cool that they believed that he was? That's an amazing thing there, because people don't believe in anything anymore, right? So, Anyway, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool, super cool. He's blown away by just the real history of it.
That's why I think the power, and you could say this for a country or for a project, the power, the fundamentals, the source of the power is going to almost always need to be a cultural. There's some foundation there. Right? You need something that people believe in, and that they frankly are willing to die over. And I think that's one of the things that I've kind of come to now, that I think the modern version, because we don't have battles now, and if we did have battles, no one would want to go fight because nobody believes in anything, because the people that would send us to fight are doing it to sacrifice our blood. They're not doing it because we have some real
also, they don't.
to fight for.
It's literally a paycheck to most of them.
So they're essentially mercenaries. It's like, oh, for democracy, I'm going to fight for your freedom. You should be free. It's like, if you don't want to be free, I'm going to kill you. It's so stupid. And so valor now, though, is, and I think about this, is like, okay, you start a project. He might have opened a gym that during COVID they were trying to close down. What was that guy that we talked about on the show, right? Mm-hmm. It might be a library. The fact that the library lost it. They were courageous for having fought. It doesn't matter if they lost. It's like the equivalent of a good death is, it is a good loss. It's like, okay, they shouldn't have lost. It was unjust that they lost. They're fighting odds that are stacked radically, billions, essentially infinite money. And who knows, in the federal courts who's paid off and who isn't, and who's plugged into whatever, because I guarantee they are.
That's a whole different. Well, there's a whole subject we could talk about that. They're talking about removing activist judges because they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Well, there's the thing too. When watch this, and I people, they'll call out some absolute obvious injustice, something like that. I mean, there was a you talk about pedos and all the rest of this stuff where they're, depending upon who they are, they don't face actual justice. People will talk about, this is horrible. All of these people should be in prison. I'm like, prison? It's like, that's not the prescribed punishment for justice against treason. It is not prison time.
Yeah, and that's something I think I don't think people get it when I tell them. Like, I think we should say corruption, bribery. What is it? It's I guess corruption. But when you say it, it should be the same thing as like rape or pedo. It should make you cringe. You know what I mean? Like corrupt, what corrupt? Because it's like, oh yeah, of course. Is it corruption? What is it when it's in government? Is it corruption?
There's word. I mean, there are a few other words. I mean, because there's treason, and then there's sedition. It's hard to remember what the difference.
You know where sedition came from? Do you know where the origin was?
Huh.
It was in I think it was Rome or Greece, but all the regular folk would leave the city.
Yeah.
And leave the elites. And there's like no one to cook their food, no one to do it. They literally would do that for like a week or two. And then they would come back. Mm-hmm. And it was to teach the power. It was the power of the people. They would just all take a break and walk out. I think, but I think that if someone, and I think it should be death. I think it should be death for corruption. Like,
yes,
people don't, because people don't fear it. And it's been so. It's so far the other side that, because we're talking about police and ambulance people. A lot of first responders have something called qualified immunity, where you can't sue them unless they do something to break that qualified immunity. So if a cop does something he knows is illegal, he's lost his qualified immunity.
And it's still subjective.
But and Lisa found this out, that Congress people and federal agents, they have constitutional, or what, I forget what it's called, but it's a different kind of immunity that they can't lose. And I didn't know about this, but federal agents, you can't sue them, period. I watched this story. This guy was he got divorced, and then his ex-wife started dating this Fed, and then the Fed went picked his Slim Jim, opened his car, put cocaine in it, and then made a call. The police came, they found cocaine, they arrested the dude. But like Arby's or whatever parking lot it was at had cameras that the guy was completely there doing it. And he was like, "Yeah, you caught me. Yeah, I did it." And they couldn't arrest him. He couldn't sue him. He couldn't do anything because he wasn't allowed. And it was, I mean, how far have we come?
Well, that's why I say there is still always the threshold, and you hope it doesn't go there. But if they don't give justice, it will come. It's just it will take a lot longer to get there, but it'll be a lot harsher too. So
Yeah, but people care more locally. Like there was some dude, I
yeah,
think it was our town, or maybe the next one over, but he had like a city truck, and he got new like they had new tires, but then you know how the
oh
government is,
yeah,
you want to
yeah,
spend your budget, so he got new tires for the truck for his truck, but those other tires were almost brand new. He took them for his truck, and
wow,
people were just outraged, and they're like, "Man, you should get put in jail." And so he had to like pay the money back, and he was in like a bunch of trouble. They voted him off of whatever he was on. But I mean, they're fucking tires. When you get to state level, even there's so much more that's just like politics. But when it's your own backyard, you care. You care.
yeah,
And when you look at like Pelosi,
oh my
she
god,
she literally said, "I did this. Yeah, so what?" And they were like, "Martha Stewart went to prison for that,"
yeah,
and she was like, "Nah, don't worry about it." I mean, she like they admit it.
hmm
I mean, and you shouldn't be allowed. I think that like John says, if somebody wants the job, you can't trust them.
yeah,
Nobody should want that job.
yeah,
And I think in order, and that's why people are there for 20, 40 years, is because they get so much out of it. I think there should be nothing you get out of it except the pride of serving your country.
yes, yep.
I think you shouldn't be allowed to invest. Period.
No, yeah, you shouldn't be allowed to invest at all. You shouldn't be allowed to even have the trust fund stuff,
Yeah,
all that.
but
I'll tell you one thing: you shouldn't be able to be a dual citizen of any other country.
and that's a
Um,
weird thing that I didn't know about until you brought it up, which most people don't know.
mhm.
Um, that what's the like, over half
Yeah, it's
uh,
crazy. It's
has.
and when you consider the percentages, it's
Well, so,
absurd. And
tell everyone what it is, because it was mind blowing to me.
should I give the exact way that I phrased it to you?
Hmm.
That these effing Belgians that take up and I can't even remember the numbers now, but the majority easily of the executive branch cabinet are dual citizen Belgians, and a good percentage of the especially the more senior senators are dual citizens. Um,
Of Belgium,
and Belgian, yeah, and so it's this whole thing where so many of
they're
them
not
are.
Belgian,
Yeah, what are they?
they're Israeli.
Oh, sorry, yes, I had the wrong flag. I was like, um, no, but it's an odd thing because when you look at it, I mean, you look at who would know this? That the Secretary of State, what's his name?
Blinken,
Blinken. He's Ukrainian and he's dual citizen.
he's dual
Um,
citizen Ukrainian.
yeah, but he's not a dual citizen. He's a dual citizen of Israel, who was born in Ukraine, and I
Jeez.
think that's right. That one where either that or his Ukrainian parents. Can't remember, but either way, he's going over there and doing whatever he's doing, and it's I don't know. There's a lot of stuff where if people knew about this, imagine if it was Chinese, if they were dual citizen Chinese, you know,
Well,
and
also
nothing against Chinese people, but
to
people would
add
be up in
to
arms.
what you're saying, Kennedy knew that at the time, and Kennedy said that if you are, and if you're a part of the, what was it back then?
Um, yeah, yeah. The group that was doing the
The
lobbying.
group,
Are you
yeah,
talking the lobbying
yeah, the
side?
group, yeah. That
Yeah, I
was
can't remember what the original
it's the
one was.
Illuminati now, but back then it was the like Israeli fund or
Yeah,
Jewish or something. If you're dual citizenship with that country, you had to register. Had to register
right.
that, so
And it's
it was known.
it's like foreign agent something
Yeah,
something.
right. And he put that, started talking about that like right before he got offed.
Yep. And if you look up on that, I mean, that's why I actually think that, I mean, um, related to that and the nuclear facility that they had running over there. They didn't want us to inspect. He demanded it because he was trying to get a non-proliferation treaty going.
Mhm.
And he got a lot of people on board, but they're all saying, I'm not signing it until they do. And so he's like, okay, you're going to have to let us inspect. And they're like, no. And I don't know if you know this. There was a guy on C-SPAN book. It was like they had a, what was it, book TV back then.
Mhm.
And he had written some book that was basically where they were analyzing letters. And I don't know if it was only Kennedy's letters or if it was only this set, but with the first prime minister of Israel, Ben Gurion. I don't know if that's the way to pronounce it or not, but that he said, and it was really interesting because the first time I heard this, I'm like, what's he talking about? Because he didn't really go into much detail. He said there's some very, I can't remember what word he used, but some very, interesting or unexpected things in these letters that you wouldn't, it's like, oh, it's kind of brought to mind, why is this happening? That essentially they were going back and forth. Kennedy told them, no, we're going to have inspectors there. You're going to let us in, or whatever. I don't know what the consequences were. And that Ben Gurion resigned. And they were like, why is it he resigned because he was offended? No, he resigned because it effectively delayed the ability for them to arrange anything because like, nope, it's okay. We have to get a new prime minister, all the rest of this. And so the Kennedy administration had to wait and they would have to start over again with whoever came in new. And then Kennedy was killed. Right. So you're like, oh, shit. And who came in? Johnson. Johnson didn't give a crap about that,
Mhm.
And what else happened under Johnson? USS Liberty. He's like, maybe you might be able to get some amazing fans if you mention USS Liberty because those guys are legit, in my opinion. And they like even the U.S. government doesn't want to hear that at all. And
What?
even all of the conservative leaders don't want to hear that. If you bring that up in a conference, they'll say that's false. That's a conspiracy theory. I mean,
What?
do you know anything about that?
Mm-mm.
No, that it essentially they have recordings. They've admitted to it. They have Israeli military that has admitted to it.
Oh, yeah.
They fired on that U.S. ship.
For 2 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, fire on that ship, and it's like it's American. It's like we know fire
Yeah,
it. So
they killed a bunch of them. They did flyovers. Yeah.
yep,
Like-
and Johnson. Johnson didn't want anything to do with it. Why? They wanted to start a war. That's what 9/11 was. That's what 20 years, how many trillions of dollars. And by the way, if you study the stuff that happened in ancient history, Athens was equivalent to like say what Rome would have been. They're very powerful in the Aegean and the Mediterranean. Essentially, they ruled the roost, and their politicians, democracy, who knows why, got involved wanting Sicily, right? And so they basically spent all of their treasury and all their blood trying to get Sicily, and they didn't get it, and the Spartans came in and took over, right? Same thing has happened to us, and so we're right on the end of that.
I heard someone say that like you think of Spartans as Spartans, and that they're Greek, part of Greece, but they're the Spartans. They're like it was an Irish person. They're like Texas is like Sparta. It's like they're American, they're part of America, but they're the Spartans. They're kind of different, which is true.
Yeah. Foreign Agent Registration Act. That's what that was. Anyway, so I think that's what that was. And there are even memes, and that's why I do enjoy 4chan, even though, there's a lot on there that's really hard to and you have to know when to skip past something, not go into it. But you'll see stuff in there that it's like mostly I like to learn things, and the best place to learn stuff is is the place that they don't want you to learn stuff. So there's even a meme where the one where it's the dude sitting in a chair, another good dude shoots him, and then says, "Why did you do this?" Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it essentially lists all of the Kennedy assassination conspiracy theories. Because how many are there? I mean, how many books have been written? How many movies? And what's the one suspect that has never been called out at any of these? What's the only one that and it's the one that's so free, and it is this one. It's it's
the
Mossad, it's
Mossad?
Israel. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, it was. I mean, our CIA.
Yeah. And I don't doubt they were involved, and I guarantee that parts of our government were involved in that. But how many of them were foreign agents as well? How many of them were dual citizens? I don't know.
Well, yeah, we're talking
Some
about
were.
those nexus moments. I mean, I think one was Johnson when he made that no, it was Johnson. Well, yeah, Johnson was a couple, but he did the money thing, but Reagan, and I think it was Bush, who was former CIA director, that he made it so that the government could give money to NGOs, but also NGOs could take money directly from the Fed. And the CIA, that's like, we're good now.
Yeah.
We can get our funding for these certain projects directly from the Treasury.
We don't have to sell drugs anymore.
Yeah,
we still will.
But they don't have to. They don't have to say where money comes from. They don't have to say go for it. So it was such a bad thing. That, and you can look back. News, misinformation, and disinformation. Those terms started coming a lot more after Obama passed that.
Yep.
That
and
was,
and that's why I will say probably the saddest thing that's happened in our recent lifetimes has been the hijacking of Bitcoin from its the purpose of cash. And as odd as that is, and it's not even the thing that I in that industry care most about is the financial. I care about the history and making something that you can build other things with. But the saddest thing is that that's gone, there are Litecoin, Monero, Bitcoin Cash. There's several other that you could point to, but it's interesting because it wasn't just the housing crash in 2008 that really spells it out. It's that the creature from Jekyll Island, the Federal Reserve, which came with the income tax, came with these things that are diametrically opposed to what this country was supposed to be about. And yet this isn't the first time, that Hamilton, I didn't used to think this, but I think Hamilton was freaking evil. Right. And that he wanted a central bank that, and that's why he's on the bills and why his statue's in front of the Treasury and all this. But that you also had, Jackson killed the central bank. And so I don't know how many iterations there were. I used to know that. But the problem is that I think that is the source of all evil in the world, or at least most evil in the world. That these wars wouldn't be possible without that. Funding wars that we shouldn't even be involved in wouldn't be possible. And
it's such a basic, simple thing. How it used to be, you had to buy war bonds to fund a war. If not, the government couldn't pay for a war.
Yeah, and that's the way you think about it. Yeah. How amazing would that be? Because when it was needed, people would do that, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's like, no, we don't need to do that.
I guarantee Ukraine wouldn't have got the last 160 billion.
Any of it
would have been there helping them before, but there's a time.
By the way, I think you look at this current government, and you can look at the executive branch, you could look at the Senate, you could look at the House, you could look at most state houses, and I'd say far and away, these people do not represent the people in their districts or in their states, or they don't.
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. It's so, to me, it's so obvious when you just look at it. Like, if you have 10 people in a room, they're going to be so different. Some people are going to like this kind of music, some people like that kind of music.
yeah,
Some people, there may be people there that hate chocolate, psycho weirdos, like, oh,
Yeah.
chocolate's disgusting. So you have all of these people in the two houses, and they all vote according to party, like 99% is according to party. So to me, it doesn't matter anymore. It used to be like, hey, this is my wife, and I'm this religion, and I believe this, and blah blah. It doesn't matter. It's just, you could literally have a monkey, but they're wearing either a Democrat or Republican shirt, because they're all going to vote that way. And I can respect someone who does evil to me and to my state and to my friends if it benefits their state. If this is going to like hurt
different state.
if it's going to hurt the oil and gas industry, if it's going to terrible for the environment, and babies are going to die, overseas, but it's going to be good for the coal industry. And the guy from Pennsylvania, yes, understand and respect.
Yeah,
but not, there's the whole thing with Brandon Herrera, you should vote for Brandon Herrera. He primaried, and he, along with 3 other people, primaried Tony Gonzalez, who's a Republican and who voted for gun control and who voted with basically everything that Obama or Biden has put through. He voted.
I will tell you, the Republican Democrat thing is I don't know if it's the oldest, but it's it's at least the one that is not new. It's the generations have been essentially relying on that false binary to say, oh, I'm a Republican. And back in the 80s, occasionally you'd say, he's a Republican, but he's a moderate Republican.
And those words they don't use moderates anymore.
Yeah. Well, and so that's why all of it is that. And we just need to get rid of that. People just need to start ignoring.
I don't understand how parties are, how the DNC is still around after what they did to Bernie Sanders. Like that's done. You have to rebrand. You've got to start something new. Because they're not, it's not like we've only had them. There was the Tories and we had a lot of different parties before.
The Whigs, the Republican Democrats. Yeah.
We had plenty, and now people are down to and it's just so defeatist that people are like, oh, what are you going to do? And you can't have but you can't have a third party. I mean, we've seen it so many times. You can see it with Kennedy running out.
But those types of things get erased fast. I remember when Tea Party movement, right?
Yeah.
This is fighting against, there were lots of, if you remember what the IRS did to Tea Party people, Lois Lerner had her up there on the stand. She obviously corrupt. What happened to her? Nothing. She walks, nothing. They would go after these Tea Party organizations and make sure they couldn't get, nonprofit. They couldn't get, they basically screwed all of them, did a bunch of illegal stuff. And even with that, I remember local Congress people getting primaried, and it was fun to watch, because at the time I was a Republican, and then later I got to know this congressperson actually after this happened, and he was a decent guy, but he got primaried, and people's minds were blown. It's like, how is that even possible? It was crazy to them. And I'm like, you guys not watch these? It's obvious, isn't it?
It's so funny, because our founding fathers, basically, there was like maybe 10 things they said, don't do this, it could break the republic. Don't do this, it could break the republic. don't do this. And one of them was one of them was central banks.
Mhm.
They said, don't do that. It could break the republic. But one of the main ones was don't have a party system.
Yeah.
Don't do that because you could eventually get down to just two parties. And
Mhm.
people are like, yeah, like that's going to happen.
Yeah.
As diverse as people are, two parties.
See, but
really?
why two? Yeah, why two? It's crazy. I don't know.
It's
I
that,
kind of wish we had a parliament instead of the way that we do have it, because you would have more likelihood to have more diverse breakdowns. But I don't know.
and you got that. It's still the same. You've got conservatives, liberals, whatever country it is. My right honorable gentlemen.
Yeah, but usually they still will have 4 or 5 that the whoever actually ends up, getting the speaker spot or the prime minister spot, they have to build a coalition with these different groups. So shared interest. Okay, we don't all agree about this, but we agree about this, and that's more important to all of us. So let's join together and do that. At least there's that. But as it is, it's a democracy, and they know that they can manipulate everybody by saying, "Oh, you're black, I'm white. You're a Republican, I'm a Democrat. Oh, you're gay, I'm straight." I mean, all these things that they do.
We used to always be like, yeah, you're black, you're white, but we're Americans. And we're like, yeah, we could unite around that. And I think for the past, decades, teaching kids that being an American is bad. You don't want to rally around that anymore. You know, I'd be like, I'm white,
Yeah.
you're black. You're like, yeah, but we're Americans. Yeah, it sucks. You might be an American. It's all.
Well, there's the thing that because I was patriotic forever, and I hope someday I will be again. But I've realized that that's all bullshit. It's all false. Even on the positive side, it was bullshit, because I was never actually supposed to be doing the things that I'm doing. That I'm supposed to just go to work and be a slave. That's what I'm supposed to do, because I didn't grow up rich, and I didn't grow up with certain blood. That I'm supposed to be not that. And when I do that, I get slapped down, right? And that's what happened to us. And it was, and you can look, because you can look at my background. You look, in fact, Wikipedia won't even have a page for me or my project, right? Why is that? Okay, whatever. You can look at all
Aren't
of
you
the
friends with
other.
the guy that created Wikipedia?
Yeah, he agrees with me on this stuff, right? So you look at all of the other founders of crypto projects, some of which didn't even get as high, and if you want to go, market cap, right? However you want to rate us, I was like, we have more patents than any of them. Not that matters, right? There's several cases that shouldn't matter, right? We did things before most of them. We had a lot. We were top 20 or maybe 22, somewhere up there, market cap, and we came out of Disney, for God's sake, right? So it's like that. That's one of the things I wanted to pin, is like, hey, I'm not a Disney person, I will tell you honestly, but I work for who I work for, and I do the best I can for them. And it was quite a feat getting to accomplish what we did there. And you look at all these other project founders, and the ones that the SEC went after versus didn't. And there's some interesting, not perfect, and nothing's pure, right? But it's obvious that they wanted to slap me down for some reason. So, and I didn't come out of Goldman Sachs. It could have been some of that. I didn't, there were a bunch of things that, whatever. I'm not in that club, I guess.
If you do me a favor, because I can't get into Den. It's also dragonchain created Den Social. It's a alternate social media platform. You can check it out. It's what is it? Den.social.
Yes, Den.social.
Get there. I can't log into my account, but anyway, because only Dave can fix it. But for World Blockchain Roundtable, which dragonchain hosts, I stream it sometimes on my channel when I get there early enough. But that's every Thursday at 10 a.m. Central. If you could put as a subject for next month, putting
Okay.
patents on the blockchain or connecting the patent office with blockchain.
Is that one of the already
No,
available votes? Let me look.
no, because I think it would change things. We knew we were talking about how
Mhm.
we were talking about that, like for the medical industry, how there's been several doctors that said they've come out and found cures for this or cures for that, and then all of a sudden they die and their house catches fire. So does their lab, like in the same day. And if and then but a lot of times I've seen this where people patent certain things and then the government takes them.
Yeah.
And they kill the patent, especially when it comes to energy. Like there's 0 point energy things that people have supposedly created.
Mhm.
That one guy, he called it for the ether, but it's basically dark matter. If he would have used different scientific terms that are accepted now, but he called it the ether back then.
Yeah.
He had one. It was like, and they're always like just brilliant farmers, you know what I mean, or something like that. Some regular dude who's like figures something out, and then they go patent it, and basically you're going to the government and be like, hey, look what I got, and you're and I think that was the FBI or the CIA. They have, and this is like admitted that they haven't someone working there at the patent office full time. It's like, why is that needed? But they're able to take patents and then lock them up and say it's for
cool. They commandeer it. Yeah.
National security or something like that. But because a lot, like we're talking about electronic vehicles and lowering emissions, and there's people that have come out and they're like, hey, this guy invented this in the 70s and in the 80s and back in the 60s, and there's like some proof that these things ran and that they were taken by the government, or the guy got cancer and died and then the government took the patent. I mean, there was that guy that said that he created the car that ran on water, and 2 gallons of water would power the car across the U.S. Because you can separate the hydrogen from the oxygen, and it's the whole the pyramid thing. The pyramids are power. Power sources.
I wish I understood more of those. I don't understand that. I've never looked into it though, but the pyramid one especially.
It's one of the best channels on YouTube. It's called the Y Files. Just WFY Files. And this guy, the way he does it now, it's really cool. He will tell you a story, like after he's done, then he will try and debunk it, or he will say, this is I believe this part, I believe this, like the Saint Germain thing we're talking about. On there.
That's awesome.
And a lot of like the myth about someone is just fake news, basically, because he's like, he did meet this person, but this person said this about him. And a lot of the Casanova, right? Supposedly Casanova, he spent time with Casanova, and that's like the end of it. It's like an endorsement almost. But then he said, if you look and see what Casanova said he was like the biggest scam artist in the world. He could talk your ear off. He's fun to hang around, but you can't trust the guy. But that's so he. It's cool the way he explains things, and a lot of it is
that's awesome.
A lot of it, you can tell he absolutely does not trust the the government or anything. But he was talking about a lot of the like the moon stuff. And he says I always go into stuff like as a skeptic,
Mhm.
and then so I approach as a skeptic, and then a lot of stuff like with aliens. He's like, yeah, but this person's like really big in the alien community, so this guy went and told her his story. So you don't know what was it that the like this soldier was stationed in this one part of Arizona, and there was this like really light beings, and he told like his son all this stuff, and then his son came out with the story, and then like you can go to Google Earth to the places where he was stationed, and there's like in the middle of nowhere, there's like airstrips, and but there's no roads to the airstrips, and then there's like all over this like old or current military base. So there's like a lot of I don't know. It's really cool. Really cool.
That's cool.
I've learned a lot. Like I didn't know how many do you consider Pluto a planet?
Do I? Yes.
Okay, so do I. How many
Okay.
planets are in our solar system?
Well, I mean, is it 9? I don't know.
Thousands.
Okay.
Do you know what's just past Pluto?
What's that?
We're surrounded by these like Pluto-sized planets. I forget what they're called. They're not
Okay.
they're not asteroids, but they're something bigger.
Okay.
But and we
microplanets, I think maybe is what they call
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
but we're like we look at our solar system in this two-dimensional way, like the line from Star Trek,
Yeah.
how Khan is things two-dimensional. But so there's not 9 planets, but then there's this huge like ball of mini planets all around us, and there's weird things that some of these planets do.
So, do you think we went to the moon?
No, I don't anymore.
Okay. You see, I definitely question it now. Just from some of the answers I've seen, like, huh.
Well, just from the fact that NASA said that they taped over all of the footage of it, and because tapes are expensive. It's the dumbest. Any kind of government's like, oh, we're trying to save, $100.
Yeah, I saw some stuff that I had never seen before, but it was essentially one of them was a picture that with modern image processing, someone came out and said that's a freaking light bulb, and I said no, it's not, and then it's like oh that was a mistake, but it was in their set of photos, and then there was another one where it was before the Apollo program, and I think it was the Navy had put something up, and not in orbit, but just put it up into space, and they had the video of it, and it's scrubbed everywhere. But if you see this video, it's to the modern eye, it's so obviously fake.
Yeah,
that they didn't even have it was
when I was a
crazy.
kid, everything looked so space age, but when I look at stuff now, it's like that doesn't look, but also like on I think it's Venus or Uranus, one of them. But they found like all these gases, and there's water, and like but there's different kinds of gases, and so then someone made the comment that wow, this is like 10 times the amount of fossil fuels we have on Earth just in this place that we found. And then everyone's like, yeah. And someone was like, wait a minute. If they're fossil fuels, does that mean there was dinosaurs there? And that was like, everyone's like froze. It's like that just, so they're not fossil fuels. You know what I mean? If they don't cut, so they're not fossil fuels. But yeah, there's so much that is just not the fact that they gave moon rocks to some country, and then that country had them analyzed, and they were Earth rocks. They weren't. The fact that they recorded over all the stuff. Basically the things that could prove it. Basically, it's like Satoshi. It's like Craig Wright. I could have, but I did this, and there's so many excuses and there's so like little actual proof. But I don't know anyone. This is just something. Even as a kid, like it was the biggest event in human history, you know,
Hmm.
and and especially back then, there used to be a lot more people that. I mean, it was cool to have a telescope. Like,
Yeah.
you know, in school, that's why you would sell those, you know, the cookies or whatever to be able to get the telescope, you know,
Uh-huh.
or the, you know, the big wheel. So
Yeah.
why isn't there people that tell the story of what they saw from their backyard with their telescope that they, and, you know, I invested a whole, you know, like a quarter of my savings so I could see this biggest event in human history, so I could get this really good, expensive telescope. You know, why isn't there?
Yeah. I don't know. Supposedly it's too far. It's too far. And I'm like, is it really? We could. It's like I don't know. I don't buy that either. But you know,
I bought my granddaughter a telescope where like you could see up close. I mean, there's it's even it's so bright that there's a special moon
Hmm.
filter you got to put on there to make it not so you can so it's not so in your face.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
so I never understood why there wasn't. You know, there's people like I always remember where I was. I was watching it in the bar. I was watching it with my kid. You know, and there's no one that was like, yeah, me and my buddies were up on a hill and we're watching it. You know, I never got that. You know why they didn't? Because you could have theoretically watched it, the rocket. Watched. I mean, you could have followed along with it from home. You
Yeah. I
know?
mean, wouldn't you be able to? I don't know. Because I like say, well, and I guess I mean you can see. I don't know what the resolution would be. Right. I mean, they can see pretty detailed of the surface of the sun even now, but maybe it would be so far away you wouldn't be able to see something of that size. I don't know. I just the other thing I just don't buy that. Oh, we lost the technology. It would be impossible to reach. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
come on.
and that's another thing. As far as a computer used to be like at the size of a house,
Hmm.
you know, or a building, and now our phones are way more advanced than the
Yep.
computers we had that went to the moon.
Yep.
So why haven't we been back? Why, you know, there's so many questions.
Yeah.
It's like 9/11. There's so many questions and so many things, and the only like proof is that the government says we did it. The government says that this is what happened.
Yeah. If you trust the government, and nobody does, and it's becoming uh, rapidly. I mean, exponentially, people have lost trust in the government. I mean, if I've talked a few members of my family about this, we think that what's coming, and maybe we can end with this because I do need to go, but we need to keep back up. Maybe we do even another. We if we focused on one even subject and like
Yeah.
just start doing them every week or something, but or every other week, but that the Federal Reserve is going to collapse. All of this structure is going to collapse. It's pretty obvious. I don't know when. I have no idea when. But in the meantime, a lot of people think, oh, but they're gonna usher in a CBDC or something else. I think they're going to try to start a war. But the problem with that is, um, most people wouldn't buy it. Most people won't believe what they're told about that, or at least enough of them won't, that they won't be able to draft people. They won't be able to do the things that they would normally do to distract us and to kill off enough of us that we can't change stuff.
Well, what about that? What about that? You know, for the past 5 years, but really the past 2 years, the mega rich people have been buying bunkers and building bunkers. Uh,
Yep.
Facebook guy basically
Zuckerberg.
has like a quarter of one of the Hawaiian Islands that he's built a bunker on. So what if it's time for WW3? A good chunk of everyone is they, and these people don't think about a year, 5 years. They're like, yeah, I guess I'll live out the rest of my life in the shelter. and then but my kids they'll come out and they'll inherit the earth. I don't know, because like you said, we're getting to a point where there's and I remember when it happened for me. It was when Anonymous said something and the government said something different, and I was like, wow, I trust a terrorist organization more than the government. And it was like 10 years ago. I mean, it was a long time ago, but it was, to me, that was like shocked me. I was like, whoa.
It's the truth. That's crazy, right? I mean, I don't know if you're there yet when something happens with Iran, and you have what's his name? Who's the Republican senator? Lindsey Graham, right? It's like, I freaking trust any state official of Iran more than I would freaking trust Lindsey Graham. Anything they'd say. Because I don't think that I think they'd be far less likely to lie than he is.
Yeah. But people are starting to see that, like, the escalation of what's happening. It's like you have to do something, or else your own people think you're weak. Iran said, like, Israel did something, and Iran's like, okay, we're going to attack you in 2 days, about 9:30. We're going to send this many missiles. So you're all ready? You're okay. And it was for show. And they literally shot down everything.
Bombed an airfield.
It was completely,
they say they bombed. They say they shot them out of the sky.
You save face. You guys are good. No one died. Everything's fine. Nothing was even destroyed. And then, bam! They killed like 2 of their people. Right afterwards. And that now the helicopter goes down from fog. But most people don't even know about Iran. That they were like Miami back in the 50s and 60s. They were like the getaway place to the vacation spot. And we've screwed up so much stuff. We screwed up South America. Where did the term banana republic come from? I mean, there's just so much.
Yep.
That is bad. Hillary Clinton said, we made ISIS. It's just.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that's true, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap things up. And there is a lot for us to talk. I do enjoy the fireside chats.
Yes. So yeah, I don't know. I would say we should do this, and we should maybe even, I don't know if you want to pick a theme and just, do it like something we'll try. We don't have to stick to it. I mean, maybe we don't even, whatever. We just
start out with something. I mean, we start talking about movies. Remember, check out The Creator. But yeah, you'll like the Y-Files thing. That was pretty cool. Like now, if I hear someone talk about lizard people running the government, I'm like, okay, these ancient lizard aliens called the Anunnaki. They may maybe I'll listen to that.
Sleaze tax.
Yeah, they're sleaze tax. That Bill Hicks thing, I thought you were insane. And now
that's
especially when I go back on his quotes, and it's like, man, him and George Carlin.
Yep, I will tell you, Jones is trying to get in front of the Groypers, and we're not like this is outside of the recording, right? He's trying to get in front of the Groypers because Fuentes is getting way too much attention, and it's obvious that he's somebody on the payroll. So it's crazy, and that's the stuff to watch. It's like if you aren't watching what Nick Fuentes is doing, that's what's coming. There's some crazy stuff, but I'm like, he's hilarious though.
And now when I look at Bill Hicks, I'm like, yeah, I can see it now. He's like what's his name? I just said George Carlin. When I was a kid, I'm like, man, this dude just complains about the freaking government. And now I'm like, I want to go buy all of his old specials. It's just so. It's like, dude, why aren't you here now? You would freak out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up. It was good hanging out with everybody. Remember to leave a like and comment. I am actually trying to get some more interviews for this week. But yeah, we could have this.
And we should go over. We should do Dracaria too sometime soon because we have the Gateway Keys coming out, and
I actually wanted to talk to you about Dracaria Horrors.
yeah.
Do I have
we'll
that here? I thought I didn't. No, I don't have it.
We'll do that next week, or whenever we can next, right?
Yeah.
Early in the week is really good for me. So
Okay, that's cool. Mondays are fine.
Cut out the part about Fuentes because I don't want to get any too much hate.
I'll see if I can dub it.
I'm joking.
Okay.
Whatever. You know, whatever you can do. It's like,
You guys take care. We'll
nice.
end with this because it's apropos.
I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered.